Here's today's First Word Daily Devotion.
On May the 16th, we turn first to 1 Samuel chapter 15, and in 1 Samuel 15, we're going to see today the fall of King Saul. But notice this, in chapter 15 and verse 1, "The Lord sent me to anoint you king over his people Israel. Now therefore listen to the words of the Lord." And you're going to see this repeated, we're going to see this repeated all through the life of Saul. It's the same thing that's been repeated through our time in the narrative of the Hebrew children. They have one job, and that's listen to the voice of God. And we really have one job as well, simply listen to the voice of God. And here's this pattern that's repeated in the Bible, and it's the pattern repeated there for our instruction. It's repeated for us today, and here's what the Lord says this day. Regardless of what we may face, regardless of what we have faced, listen to the word of the Lord. And when we listen to the word of the Lord, then it results in life for us. And so I want you to see this in verse 10, in chapter 15 and verse 10, all the force of this word regret. And we've seen that happen a couple of times now in the biblical narrative, and thinking in particular as it relates to Noah and the flood. But all the force of this regret, this notion of regret, we have all that we've seen on a large scale towards humanity or maybe towards a people group is now against one man, and that one man is named Saul. The word of the Lord came to Samuel, "I regret that I made Saul king, for he has turned back from following me and has not performed my commandments." Samuel was angry, and he cried to the Lord all night. Samuel rose early to meet Saul in the morning, and it was told Samuel, Saul came to Carmel, and behold, he set up a monument. Now, we've already seen that Saul is a very insecure leader, and it only makes sense that insecure leaders do things to sort of build up their own prestige and personality. Remember what we saw in chapter 14 and verse 52? It says that Paul was, anytime that he saw any strong man or valiant man, he attached him to himself. And so here we see Saul as an insecure leader. And here in chapter 17 in verse 17 of chapter 15, we see the insecure leader and his consequence. Look at what Samuel says to him. And Samuel said, "Though you are little in your own eyes, are you not the head of the tribes of Israel?" And then verse 18, "And the Lord sent you on a mission and said, Go devote to destruction the sinners, the Amalekites, to fight against them until they are consumed. Why then did you not obey the voice of the Lord? Why did you pounce on the spoil and do what was evil in the sight of the Lord?" Now pay attention to that phrase. The insecurity of Saul is right before us. Let me read that verse again, verse 17. "Though you are little in your own eyes, are you not the head of the tribes of Israel?" And so here is this false sense of humility that Saul has, perhaps, and that false sense of humility is hiding his own insecurities. And there's a valuable lesson here for us, any of us who want to lead people, whether it's a large group or a small group. Maybe it's leading our children, leading our wife, whatever the case may be, those that we are leading. Remember this, God has called us to lead as well as given us the provision to lead. You say, what's the provision that He's given me to lead? It's the word of the Lord. And so Samuel, of course, he is the one who carries the word of the Lord to Saul. And Saul, time and time again, chooses to substitute listening to the voice of the Lord to listening to his own voice. And so look at this, verse 22. Samuel said, "Has the Lord as great delight in burnt offerings and sacrifices as in obeying the voice of the Lord? Behold, to obey is better than sacrifice, and to listen than the fat of rams. For rebellion is the sin of divination, and presumption is an iniquity and idolatry. Because you have rejected the word of the Lord, He has also rejected you from being king." Saul said to Samuel, I have sinned, for I have transgressed the commandment of the Lord and your words, because I feared the people and obeyed their voice. Now therefore please pardon my sin and return with me, that I may bow before the Lord." And here's a sad verse in verse 26. Samuel said to Saul, "I will not return with you, for you have rejected the word of the Lord, and the Lord has rejected you from being king over Israel." And so here we have his own insecurities leading to his own rejection. And so let's turn over to John 16, and let's just point out a couple of things for you. Chapter 16 in our New Testament reading in verse 22. "So also you have sorrow now, but I will see you again, and your hearts will rejoice. No one will take your joy from you." And then look at verse 27, these calm words of assurance that come to us through Christ our King, through Christ our great shepherd. "For the Father himself loves you." Perhaps one of the most powerful verses, John 16:33. Listen to what it says. "I have said these things to you, that in me you may have peace. In the world you will have tribulation, but take heart, I have overcome the world." And the assurance that we have even during troubling times comes on account of our God who has triumphed. "In the world you will have trouble, but take heart, I have overcome the world." Now let's continue going through our Hebrew alphabet. Are you ready? Psalm 119, remember, is teaching us the Hebrew alphabet. Aleph, Beit, Gimel, Dalet, Hey, Vav, and today, Zion. "Remember your word to your servant, in which you have made me hope. This is my comfort in my affliction, that your promise gives me life." Verse 54. "Your statutes have been my songs, and may they be our songs today." As we remember this from the life of Saul, from our Proverbs reading, "The fear of the Lord is instruction in wisdom, and humility comes before honor."